Everybody, and welcome to the Creative Expressions Treasure Hunt. Hello crafters, it's James here for Creative Expressions this Thursday, and we've got an amazing treasure hunt for you once again. And the reason I'm so excited is because I know what's coming and I know exactly how much I've been able to get you to save this week. You will be saving more than twice what you'll spend. It really is an amazing deal, which I will be showing you in just a few moments. But before I do, I know we've done many of these, but just a very quick recap, because I know we've had lots of new people now kind of start following us each week. So Creative Expressions Treasure Hunt, James, who am I? What do I do? Well, I'm one of the demonstrator team for Creative Expressions, and I get to each week go around the warehouse at Creative Expressions and see and find what goodies I can bring you at an amazing price. And what I do is I bundle them together into something that's going to be really usable, whether you're a new crafter, whether you've done loads of stamping or die cutting before. There's a little bit of something there for everybody, but I always kind of look at it as a way of getting people that are maybe new to stamping in this case, or maybe new to crafting. It gives you an opportunity to try something out at a really good price. So every Thursday at 6 o'clock UK time, I'll come to you across the Creative Expressions social media channels and give you some ideas of just what you can do with these really special treasure hunt hoards that I pull together for you. And this one is a cracker. It's amazing. So the RRP value of everything that I've pulled together from the warehouse for you in this package is over £60. It's £60 and 97p on the Creative Expressions website. If you were to go, I'm so excited, as if you were to go and have a look at it. But if you use the link below and you click on the link below, it will take you to the Creative Expressions website, to the very special treasure hunt bundle for 1 week only of just £19.99. That's right, it's £19.99, less than £20 for everything I'm going to show you in a moment. I will show you, I promise you, but that's a saving of over £40, which is what I was saying. You're going to save twice the quantity than what you're actually going to spend on this bundle. And it's by no means because there's something in there you're not going to want. Trust me, there's 4 amazing Cosmic Shimmer products and 3 amazing stamps, all from our current range. And the Cosmic Shimmer products, so I tell you this actually, if you went and purchased the 4 Cosmic Shimmer products on their own, it would actually cost you £19, because there's some really good watercolour inks, which I'll be showing you. So it means that you're almost getting the stamps for free. For just 99p, I'm going to give you 3 huge clear stamps in today's treasure hunt. So I think I've probably teased you enough now. So £19.99, links below. Make sure you like and share, because you are doing, that's what's allowing me to keep bringing you these really good deals. So like, share, subscribe, hit the thumbs up wherever you're watching me across the channels, and then it will allow me to keep coming back every Thursday, 6 o'clock UK time. All right, I'm not going to tease you anymore. Let's take a little look down below and show you exactly what I've got here on my craft desk. This is the hoard that I pulled together for you this week. We've got 3 huge stamp sets by our designer, Bonnita, Moaby, and each of these are a clear stamp set with a load of stamps. We've got 20 stamps in one, 14 stamps in another, and this one here has got 16 clear stamps across all 3. Now, if you're new to stamping, I'll explain as we're going along why I think these are actually really good stamps to start to work with. There's kind of outline stamps, not got loads of detail. It means you can colour them in, you can just stamp them as they are. You'll see as I go along. Really good stamps to work with. Then to add a bit of a splash of colour to these, and they kind of lend themselves so well to watercolour inks and watercolouring. There's so much you can do with these, but these little watercolour inks, if you've not seen them before, from Cosmic Shimmer, one of my favourite brands from Creative Expressions. These come in a little glass jar with a screw-on lid with a glass pipette inside, absolutely loaded with ink. And it allows you then, I'll show you as we use them, to just squeeze the top, and as you do, the ink comes out the pipette. So really clean, easy way of working with these inks, kind of mess-free, hassle-free, and you've got them there ready to go. And what I've done is I've picked out a couple of colours in the standard ink. We've got a blue and a green. I'm just going to check the colour names. I never remember colour names. Peacock Teal, that's it, and Fresh Meadow. So 2 sort of a blue and a green hue there. And then we've also got a yellow and a darker blue in the Golden Sunrise and also a blue as well, which is interesting blue. Now, these two colours are slightly different. They're still watercolour inks, but they're pearlescent. So what that means is in the bottom here, I'm not sure if you can see that, there is tons and tons of mica. So I'm going to give these a shake, and you can hear there, you get to hear that. There's a little tiny ball bearing inside each of these just to mix the ink and the fluid and the mica together, and then you'll see the difference. If I hold those up, see all that mica in there? Oh, it's amazing. It really, really is glistening. So you can see the difference between those sort of two blues I've picked out for you in both the pearlescent and also the normal watercolour dye. So we've got those four included and these three stamp sets. Now, there's loads I could show you. I'm just going to home in on two at the moment, the whale and the bee. I just really like the idea of the garden bee, whether you're a gardener. It's the sort of thing you could do, maybe do a nice little card with a packet of seeds in, those sort of seed bomb ideas for the wildflowers and the butterflies and the bees. I think that's stunning. I just love the designs of Bonnita Moaby and the way that they work. So let me take these out of packaging, show you exactly what you're going to get. So there's 16 stamps inside this set, and actually the packaging on the front, if anything, probably does them a misjustice, because the there we go. I'm too eager to open them up. There we go. So the packaging on the front of these, probably, as I said, does them a misjustice, because you're not getting just that. That's just a small selection of stamps. What you're actually getting is all of these stamps here. And if I just grab a piece of paper, and you'll be able to see those a lot clearer. So there's an awful lot of different stamp elements to what's actually on the front of the packaging. So that's the what I'll call the bee one. It's Queen Bee, to be exact. And this one is Embrace Adventure. And this has got 20 stamp sets in this one. I'll pop that to one side, and again, grab a piece of paper, and I can show you what you've got here. A load of wonderful underwater little pieces. There's the whale, which we're going to be using. There's some fossils. So you can really build up a whole scene, or just take one element, which is exactly what we're going to do. Because I think sometimes building a whole scene when you're stamping, if you're new to crafting, or maybe you're new to colouring or watercolour inks, it can be a bit too much. So if we just take one element from each of these packs, and I'll show you exactly what you can do with them. And it really isn't scary, it's dead simple. And as I've always said before, crafting is all about sharing. So make sure you share your makes, comment below. And if you've got any questions as we're going along, make sure you do drop those down. The Creative Expressions team are watching, and we will be able to then reply to some of your questions as we're going along. And also, later on, when I get a chance, when I finish crafting, I'll be able to have a look back and see if there's any questions that you've got for me. Anyway, let's have a look at what the design team have been up with these stamp sets. We've got so many different designs. I'm going to go through them really quickly. Massive shout out to all of the design team that have done these cards for us. Thank you very, very much. These are just the Queen Bee stamp sets. And you can see, I mean, they are really, really stunning. I'm going to bring in a couple of the adventure ones as well, the Embrace the Adventure, if you like, the underwater type ones. Then we've got the stag. Now, can you see how simple some of these are? This one here is just literally stamping onto a watercolor background, which is really, really easy to do. Trust me, you'll really want to try some of these techniques out. Now, some of these can be more involved with shaker cards, and also bringing in your die cuts to do lots and lots of different ideas. I think that's the thing with a really good stamp set. When you see this number of designs from the design team, you really know they've enjoyed working with them, and it's just given them so much inspiration to work with. And there's so many different variations on a theme here across predominantly just two stamp sets. Now, I have got some more of the stag here. I think these are lovely, just very, very clean, simple, really crisp stamp images on a nice, simple, modern white background. Again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. You could just take one or two of the little stamp elements and add them in. We've got another one there that's really, really simple to do with the stag. Maybe just doing an element of the stamp of the stag top and adding in some detail from another stamp or embossing folder. Really simple to do, and kind of, I would almost say, sort of timeless. You know, this isn't necessarily a Christmas card by any means, just with a stag on it. I mean, I'm from the West Country, from Somerset. We've got the corn tops, got stags all year round. It really is sort of a country life, country style card. It's something really kind of quite fashionable, actually, with interior design and decorations in certain parts of the country. That sort of idea of the stag and the country life. So I think these types of cards, love this, striking one colour and just the stamped image, does everything. A little bit of masking, really isn't complicated when you break it down. So you can see here, there's a huge pile of designs and inspirations, and I will at the end, I promise you, I will show a few of these back over. And if you do follow me on social media, James Hembo Crafts, I will make sure I share my makes and maybe give you some sneak peeks of what's coming up on the treasure hunts before as well, and also some of these, so you can refer back to them and have a little look. Now I just want to clear these, keep them all safe and clean and tidy, but I will come back to those and just show you very, very quickly a couple of the watercolor samples. So there's just two here. These are the non-pearlescent ones, just to give you an idea of the type of hue and colors that we've got to play with. So you can see why I've picked these out in mind with the underwater scenes with the whale, and obviously we've got the yellow to play with first. And that's exactly where I'm going to go. I'm going to start off with the bee stamp. Just before I do, let me just show you a couple of different finishes, just using this 2 or 3 4 color palette inks that we've got on this evening's treasure hunt. Now I'm just going to flick through these and give you an idea, but we will be doing some of these water washes together in a moment. I don't always use watercolor cards. Sometimes I do use normal foundation card as well. And that is very much down to what I'm looking to do and how much water I'm going to flood onto my cardstock. Now, you can always use watercolor paper. As soon as you say that, people think it's going to be complicated. It really isn't. It just means the cardstock can accept a lot more water before breaking down and the fibers kind of starting to almost pull away. So it's a lot more workable with water, the watercolor card. I'm not a watercolor artist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a crafter. I just know when I need to use some watercolor card, or if I need to, like I've done here, this is just regular old foundation card. And I say regular old foundation card, it's very good, but it's not the watercolor cardstock that we do. So this is just showing you some of the different backgrounds, so you can get an idea just there. If I move that around, you can see the mica background mixed with the ink background. You can imagine that just stamped on one of those, that just like we saw, that stag idea. That's all it is, doing that background and then going in there with the stag. It's just a case of spraying it with water and then just literally using the pipette, dropping some inks on. So we will take a little look at that in 2 minutes. You can go on quite light. I've got a splattering effect there. We'll be doing that in a minute, more or less. And this is actually using cardstock to the, when I've finished up my area, going in, mopping up the excess, and then you create these sort of very, very subtle blotched sort of background. So it's just to give you an idea of just how faint you can actually go with some of these colours, as well as really quite striking. And there's so many different variations. And this is just really to kind of give you a glimpse of what I do. When I find these products, I will just have a bit of a play with them. And a lot of my ideas, I'll look at the background and think, I like that colour, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. And I'll cut in and I'll use this, or maybe I'll recreate it. So I use these kind of swatches and just go back to them time and time again. So let's have a little look at what we're going to make together this evening. I've got a couple of cards, really simple background techniques, but I think hopefully you'll agree, quite striking, and the colorway is really nice. So I love this one with the whale. We're going to show you how to color up the whale using the watercolor inks. So that's just using a couple of colors, and also you've got that wash there, and go with the flow. Love the sentiments on these stamps. And then we've got the Queen Bee set here with Just Because. And this again just makes a really striking card. So let's start off with the bee card, as I shall call it, and pop that to one side, and we will have a little look at how we're going to work this up and start it off. So it all starts off with, I've just got here a piece of foundation card, because it's just some coconut white. I'm not going to be applying loads and loads of colour, just a little bit, sorry, loads and loads of water, just a little bit to start with. And that means that it doesn't need to break down. So if you've got some regular cardstock at home, no need to sort of panic and have to get some special cardstock to go with this bundle this evening. Just use your foundation card and we'll go from there. Now I am just going to, when I do my watercolouring, I like to try and work either on my glass mat or a craft sheet. So I'm just going to, if that's not too reflective, I don't think it is. I tell you what, let's just leave it like that there. And I'm just going to use this area to mix some of the paints on, and we'll go in on top of that area there. Let me just move this around slightly. There we go. I've got to keep this down just to try and keep the cameras from misfocusing, so hopefully that will help. There we go. Then I've got my glass sheet there. That's what I'm going to do. You could use a palette, maybe, if you've got a palette. I work with those, but I quite like this mixing straight onto my work area that I'm in. So let's bring back that card, and we're going to have a look at this background effect first, and I'll show you how that's going to be created. And we're going to start off using some of the Pearlescent watercolour inks that I've got here. So this is the yellow hue. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that and pop it straight onto my glass sheet. And also, I've just got, if I bring that into shot there, just some regular old tap water, nothing special, magical going on. So you want you to see what I'm doing here. And also a few of our wash brushes. I think these are the Ranger ones, which I've got here. Just a really good quality craft brush without being overly expensive. You don't need artist brushes. They're just a good quality. And Ranger, you're never going to go wrong with those. So I believe we can pop the link in below for those for you. And I've just got them in some water ready to use, just wetting the bristles, and then that's going to do what we need. So I'm just going to start off by wetting my cardstock ever so lightly and just putting a wash down over it, because if we're going to work with water, there's no point in putting it onto a dry cardstock to start off with. We are going to need to just wet it. Wet it both sides. That will just stop it curling too much when you're working with it. Not loaded with water, just applied a little bit there. So now I'm just going to take some of our coloured ink and just mix it there down below onto my glass sheet. And you can see I'm hardly using any at all. It's a smallest drop to begin with. And I'm just going to put a wash in, starting a bit strong at the top and gradually going down to something a little bit more watery to start off with. So let's start off with that. And just one fell motion, straight down through, swiping backwards and forwards. We'll add a little bit more water to that. And there we go. That's all we want to create, is something like that. I'm just going to water that down a little bit more now. And then we just fade that out to kind of wipe down the bottom of the cardstock. And it is as simple as that. It's just going from a very, very simple wash. And it doesn't matter what you create. Trust me, when that dries, it will look very, very, very different. And it will look more one. It will look less as it does now when it's wet. It's difficult to kind of see the fade that we've got there, but it's really worked well. And also the other thing not showing on there just at the moment is the mica, because once that dries, then it will show through, it will glisten through, where at the moment it's the water kind of showing. So we've done our simple wash. The other thing I'm going to do, I'd normally just let that dry for a couple of minutes, but just to speed things up here, I'm just going to rinse out my brush, make sure it's nice and wet, going to pick up some of this ink, add a bit more water, and we are just going to do a little bit of splattering. And it's just a way of creating a bit of interest, bit of texture on a nice wash like this. And you just really want to, all I'm going to do is tap the brush down to my hand. And as I do, it's just going to create some nice little tiny splashes and spritz some of the ink across the cardstock. So we've done that. I know it's quite a subtle technique. It does work really, really well. Let me just lift that up and just show you what we've done there. So we've just created something as simple as that. So it's like a couple of the swatches I showed you. We just got a little bit of splattering and nice even colour wash down through using the wash. There's nothing difficult about this. And once you've done this once or twice, you'll kind of start mixing in other colours and having a bit of a play with it. Now, if I just go off on a bit of a tangent, we just bring in some of these other colours. Now, this is where I would now stop, and I will show you what the next stage is in just a moment. I would basically trim this down, start to make my square card, because what that's going to form up here is that background that we can see there. And you can see the splattering and the water wash that I've just created, and I've just framed that up, cut that out of that piece of cardstock. And that's exactly what we'll do in a moment. But I just want to give you that idea of going in with a bit more water and adding some ink to create those sort of water splash backgrounds. So what I've got here is a bit of water, which I'm just going to lay down. And normally I would go in with some clean water, but I just want to, and again, if you're going to apply a lot of water, because I've got this quite wet on the front and the back, I would normally start to now look to do this with watercolour card, but it's okay for this purpose, just to show you what I want to do. This will work absolutely fine. So I'm going to go in with a bit of the blue, and just drop that down like that. You can see how that whips out and starts to fan and grow. It looks absolutely stunning. Let's go in there with the green as well. And this is a great thing with the delivery system with these watercolour. It's absolutely unique. You can just use the pipette, drop it in there, and bam, you got the colour instant. We've got a little bit of mica. Now, these won't spread as much. So what I tend to do with these is I drop them into the middle of the colours that we've already got. Don't have to do every one, just like that. And then maybe a bit of the yellow as well. And you'll see how that then mixes around. That's exactly what I did And if you need to, you can spritz that. If it's watercolour paper, spritz it with a little bit of water from a mister, and that will just allow that to carry on growing and wicking out. Leave that, let it set, let the colours mix, and then when you've done that, that's when you'll start to create patterns just like that. Trust me, that is watercolour cardstock. So this sort of technique, I would suggest watercolour cardstock because it's quite wet and the fibres can break down. But when it's dry and it's all mixed, you'll get that sort of effect with all those backgrounds that we saw. That's exactly how this kind of effect here was accomplished, just using a smaller area and less ink. But you could quite as easily use that and cut into it. So I just wanted to share that little tip with you there, just how to do something slightly different. But let me pop that to one side to dry and just mop up the excess here. And we will go back to our Queen Bee card that we're making. So all this excess that I picked up here, I could have gone ahead, popped a piece of cardstock down onto it and picked up all of that excess and used that as a background as well. So next piece is to just show you what I've done here. So all I've done is I've gone ahead, used that background that I showed you. This forms our card. We've got our splashes and our splotches and our little speckles. We've also got a nice even colour wash there. I've just gone ahead and mounted it on some black and yellow cardstock. Nothing more than that. Just very, very simple card front or gift card. So let's pop that down and go into our stamp set, because don't forget, at the end of the day, for $19.99, you're virtually paying for the inks and getting the stamps for 99p. So it's a really, really good deal. Now I'm going to, rather than using my stamping press that you may have seen me use before, I'm just going to use a couple of these thin woodware stamp acrylic blocks that I've got here. They flex, they're nice and easy to work with to get some pressure on your stamp. And I'm just using the honeycomb stamp to start with, and also one of the Simon Hurley dye ink pads over the moon, just creating a really nice similar kind of yellow to the ink that I picked out. So this ink pad isn't in the bundle, it's available on the website if you want to take a look. Again, Ranger product, so as soon as you hear Ranger, you know it's a huge high quality product, ink pad, just like the Cosmic Shimmer products from Creative Expressions, all good quality crafting products. But let me just show you, when you stamp this down onto here, the yellow kind of matches the yellow that we've got. Let me hold that up. Very, very subtle, because at the end of the day, we're just creating a really simple background. So if you've not stamped before, you want to take your ink pad to the stamp, just like I've done there, position it onto your card project, press down. I'm really not applying much force at all to this because it's a very, very simple stamp design. I'm just wanting to create a little bit of interest in the background. I'm just going to build this up. I'll just pop one more there, and I think we'll call that a day with that little stamp design. I'll pop that one back over there. And that's just created basically our background with a bit of a wash and a stamp. So then let's bring in the star of the show, which is our Queen Bee. So this is a stunning stamp. Really love this stamp. It's actually quite sizable, as you can see here on the clear stamp that I've brought to you. I've got a bit of black cardstock. I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to bring in my stamping press for this because it is a bit of a bigger stamp. And it's just how I choose to work. I just find it a lot easier to put my card down there and then position my stamp there and then pick that up. So stamping press details, again, it'd be down below. It's just one of those kind of go-to tools. If I'm ever stamping, you will see me use the stamping press more often than not. So what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to take loads of your time up, but if you haven't stamped before, Perfect Medium ink pad. It's a clear ink pad that leaves a tacky residue behind. It's probably one of the easiest ink pads to actually stamp with because it's very difficult to kind of not get a really good impression. And again, I'm just applying the ink over the top of the clear stamp. So what I want to do is stamp onto my black cardstock, and I'm going to heat emboss with a white ink pad. Just before I do that, I'm just going to get my little woodware anti-static bag, which you should always do, and I sometimes always forget. And that just takes off any sort of grubby fingerprints or early residue that may be on the cardstock that we can't see. And I'm going to get a nice stamped impression. Now this is a big stamp, so I am going to work my pressure down top to bottom, left to right, and then apply a little bit in the middle as well. And that will just make sure I've got a really nice stamped image just like that. And that's going to stay tacky for some time. You can't leave it overnight, but you can see there we go. fantastic how it's stamped down. That's a lovely thing with these clear stamps. They just work really, really well because they just tend to outline stamps without getting really, really technical about this. But because they're outline stamps with no real detail in the middle, just means that you don't have to apply loads of pressure to get a really good stamped effect because there's not lots of contact with your surface. So it just means that they're easy stamps to work with. If you've not worked with stamps before, give them a go. They're not scary. And if you have, then you'll love the designs. I absolutely know you will. So I've just gone on with some clear embossing powder. If you haven't done this before, then sorry if I'm kind of rushing through things and not detailing, but I will try and do some videos on this just to give beginners some opportunity to learn a few things as well. We all have to start somewhere. This is just a clear, sorry, not a clear, it's a white heat embossing powder. So what's happened is I've basically used my embossing powder, rubbed it, run it over the top, and it's just stuck to the perfect medium tacky ink pad that we stamped. I'm now going to go in with a heat gun and heat this up. So I'm just going to heat from below to begin with, and gradually warm the project, and then once the perfect medium ink started to dry, then I'll remove the heat and I'll start to go in on the top, and you'll start to see that melt. And I still find this, after using it as a craft, being still one of the most magical things that happens. But as soon as you start to apply the heat, you just want to keep moving it around, then you'll start to see that that's going to melt, and the embossing powder will go and form a really, really nice solid white line. So I know it may not be easy to hear it, right? It is a bit funny, but I believe we are there. So let me just pop that to one side. And you can see there how easy that was to do. That's all now embossed, it's permanent, it's on there. And what that also means is that I can go over with watercolour inks and the embossing powder will resist the watercolour. So yeah, a little bit of a hack there. It just means you don't have to keep inside the lines. Let me just show you very, very quickly. If I go in with a little bit of ink, and I water it down just slightly with some of the water that we were using before, still using the same yellow. If I just wash that over the top, can you see how it just absolutely resists the ink? So that's just a little tip. It just means that you can put a wash over the top. Now, interestingly, when this dries, because it's the pearlescent one, the mica in it will actually interfere with the black background, and you can't quite see it at the moment because it's wet, but you'll get a really, really novel finished look on that. Now, what I actually did, I just wanted to share that tip with you, is I went in with some neat ink. I didn't water it down at all. Let me just show you how that looks on the black cardstock. So if I take some of that, what I actually did is I just went in and I've wetted this, so it may not work too well now, but I've just gone in and highlighted some of the yellow areas of the bee. I've taken out some of the stamped areas and just added a bit of colour. And the thing is, I know that the all of these white areas are just going to be resisted, so it just adds a little bit of detail. And when that's dry, I then went around and I cut it out. So see the colour that we've got there, you've almost got that yellow, but when it dries, you get this lovely golden bronze effect with real iridescence. So all I've done is cut that out by hand, and there it is there, finished off, ready to mount onto our project. And can you see the yellow that I've added in there? It's still got that yellow effect, but you probably will see almost like a bronzy green interference, and that's the mica coming into play from our watercolour inks that I've used there. So pop that to one side, and we'll start to bring the card together then. And let's just take up that excess. So you see they're really, really kind of full of dye, these inks. They are very, very, very colourful. So all I've got onto the back of my bee here is a couple of foam pads, woodware foam pads. You could use foam pads, foam tapes from the woodware adhesive collection that we've got on the Creative Expressions website. And I'm just going to mount the queen bee. I think I'll pop her up there actually, like so. And that is basically our project. The only thing I did to finish it off, if I bring in the finished card, because I'm really keen to show you the other one, I know you all got other things to do, I'm sure, I'm very, very busy, is I just used our Just Because stamp, and I just stamped that down in the bottom right-hand corner, or wherever you choose. And I just think it looks absolutely stunning there. If I give you the card that we had before, very plain, simple, kind of modern approach, but really, really simple if maybe you're new to watercolouring or new to stamping. So let's pop that to one side, and I want to bring in our next card that we're going to have a go at making. And that is going to be our Embrace Adventure stamp set. And you may remember there's the card that I'm going to show you how to break down. Now, we've already got a good idea of how this wash is going to work, and that's all I've done actually is just put a wash on the cardstock there. So let's pop that to one side and bring in our card base and have a look at how we're going to do that. So it's going to be in a very similar fashion. The only difference is I am using watercolour for this, and I have got some fresh water here, which I am just going to swap over because I don't want any yellow in my in the blue that I'm going to be using. So there we go. So I've got the blue. We've got two. We've got a pearlescent and we've got a non-pearlescent colour that's showing here in the bundle. And I'm just going to go over the top with our cardstock. I'm going to give it a little spritz just to one side off my craft desk, so I don't want to get all the cards wet. And I'm just literally just spritzing the water from a distance. And I'm just making it damp on both sides so that it's got some water applied to it before I start to apply a wash. Then I'm going to go in with my really big wide wash brush from Ranger and apply a nice layer of water over the top, so you can see that now glistening. And then I'm going to go in, give that a little bit of a mix of pearlescent one, and apply a couple of, and you can see I'm hardly using, these will last you a long, long time. You hardly use any of this, and you don't need loads. They are very, very intense because it's basically almost like intense watercolour before they get sort of watered down, and that means you can use them neat, or you can do as I'm now going to do and just give them a bit of a wash down. So I'm going to go in with a slightly smaller wash brush, not quite so wide now, and just pick up a little bit of, let's go for that pearlescent blue there, which is really striking. So a little bit more water with that, and we're just going to start to go over the top like that. So it's very, very faint and kind of deliberate to begin with, but not too intense at all. Then that just lies down our mica, and then I'm going to go in with this really striking strong blue. I'm going to start from the other end. Look at that, really, really strong colour. Now I've made this card a little wetter than I did in my sample. It really doesn't matter. Every time it's going to look slightly different. Sometimes you're going to get more defined stroke marks on the edges. Other times you're going to get this really nice whipped out water ink effect. It kind of just doesn't matter what you're going for. There's no right, there's no wrong with this whatsoever. And never ever throw anything away until it's dry. Trust me, I've nearly done that a few times, and I've always been surprised once something's dry with just how intense or defined the colour actually is. And sometimes you think you haven't achieved what you wanted. It doesn't matter, because when it's dry, you'll be quite surprised. Now, I'm really quite happy with that. I think that's going to look fine. When that actually dries and mats down, I know I'm going to get a very similar effect to something that looks like that there. Now, I know that's got a little bit more water, so it's a little bit more less defined than this, but that's kind of what I'm going to get. And if I just move that around, can you see the mica in there? So there's loads and loads of detail. Now, let me just pop that to one side to dry. I'm just going to pick up the excess there. And let's bring in the well that we've got here. So I've gone ahead and stamped that just for quickness. I'm just going to apply a little bit of the blue ink down there, which we've got, which is the Peacock Teal. I keep saying blue, I should be calling it teal really, shouldn't I? And then we've got some of the fresh Meadow. So this is the fourth colour that we've not used yet, that I just thought would be nice to use. I'm just going to show you the really quick sort of technique that I'm using here. So I'm going to just spritz a bit of just normal water onto here. I'm just going to treat this as a bit of a palette and start to mix these colours together. So to begin with, no water needed to be sprayed down to this. I'm going to go in with virtually the most intense colour. And I'm just going to apply it along the bottom of the well, because at the end of the day, that's kind of where the darker area is going to be. And I'm just following that black line. Now, I'm not overthinking this. I'm not getting clever. There's just the two colours here. And I really don't need to kind of overwork. You don't have to be too exact. I'm not even worried about whether I'm inside the lines, outside the lines. It's that type of design, that type of open stamped image, that it really doesn't matter. You can kind of go in there and it will just work. And I think it's all just about enjoying colouring. And I find it hugely therapeutic. And now all I'm doing is just adding more and more water to my brush. And as I do, that water, that colour just becomes less and less intense. And it's as simple as that. And I'm not worried about all of this, because in a minute I'm going to cut it out, and I actually want that kind of sort of finished effect. Now I could leave it at that and I would be very, very happy with that, but I'm actually going to bring in a little bit of this green and mix it with a tiny bit of blue. And again, you can play around with your colours. Really, there is no right, there is no wrong with this. And I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow, shall we call it, if you like, a little bit more green. And just kind of along this bottom area here, just put in this deeper, this sort of deeper marine blue green colour all along the bottom here. And that'll just blend in quite nicely, and it will just work quite happily. And you can't go wrong. This is just normal foundation cardstock. It's not watercolour cardstock I'm using here. It is just normal cardstock. And you know, I'm going to leave it at that, because I actually think that that's quite good. I'm quite happy with that. Every one I do looks completely different. Here's the one that I've done before. The only difference I've done here with this one, once it was dry, is I've actually gone in with a white gel marker. Now, I can't really show you on here because it's wet. I'll just add a few lines like that. But every one I do is different every single time, and it really, really doesn't matter. But it is that simple. And that's what I was saying at the top. These sorts of stamps really, really lend themselves to just allowing you to work quite openly with your colours if it's something you've not done before, because the stamps aren't all closed. Dead easy, just have some fun, enjoy it. And this is the ideal opportunity to have a go when they're this sort of price. You just can't go wrong. And it's, at the end of the day, I really think it's something you're going to quite like. So let me grab, we will finish this one off. I know it's taken a while this evening, but there's so much. It's such a good bundle price. I really kind of wanted to share this with you. So let me go in with my stamp press and grab that one. And we will just, and this is the nice thing with a stamp press, you can actually put your finished project in and kind of lay everything out and think where you want to put it, move your words around, and then bring in your top piece that we've got here and pick up the stamp. I'm just going to very, very quickly stamp that with some black archival. Now I could easily go in with a blue, or I think the white and the black looks really striking. I'm just going to stamp that onto the finished card in one go. So you can just stamp straight over the top of these watercolour inks, no problems whatsoever with that. There we go, go with the flow. How true is that? Sometimes we all worry and overthink about things far too much, and I think that's probably a great tip with this sort of watercolouring. Have a go, you will be pleasantly surprised. I'm not a watercolourist. The inks will kind of do their own thing. And I'm just going to stamp that one, stick that one down there for my finished one. And the only other thing that I went ahead and done, again, in the stamp set, because there are so many elements in here, got some fantastic little bubbles, I just went ahead and heat embossed those with the perfect medium and the detailed white embossing powder, just like I did with the Queen Bee earlier on. But I think with or without those bubbles, as a finished card, it's a great little project to have a go at stamping and watercolouring inks. Maybe one of those things is your first time you've had a go with them. If it is, have a go with this. It really is a great set to have a play with. So let me just very, very quickly move this back over, cover over my mess, and I'll bring in all of the bits and pieces and very, very quickly remind you. And I must just say thank you for joining me this evening. I know it's taken a while, but there is a bit to show you, and I really hope you enjoy it. So we've got the 3 stamp sets there, and we've got the 4 watercolour inks in the 4 different colorways. Let me just lie those down for you. 2 in the Pearlescent and 2 in the normal watercolor ink sets that we've got. And there's just a couple of the cards that we've made this evening using just these products, and absolutely tons and tons of inspiration from our design team as well with what you can do with this absolutely amazing stamp sets and inks. So all of that together, as a quick reminder, £19.99. I'm sure you haven't forgotten, because I still think it's an amazing deal. Normally over £60 RRP. All the links are below, and I'm really looking forward to see what you come up with this. I would really grab the bargain, have a go with it, and learn a few new techniques. But that just leaves me with one final thing to say, and that's carry on crafting. And until next Thursday, I look forward to seeing you all again right then. And go and grab yourself a bargain.